Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. I really need my Tai Chi to my partner just not feeling so well. I have to help her to a safe spot. So, couple deep breath. Here we are. It's a. Pat, could you just say that topic again?
Sure. Yeah, yes, we just mentioned it quickly and in not too much detail, but over the years and in our contact with all of our Tai Chi friends, we always hear formal or informal discussions about how the movements that we're doing in the set might relate to meridians and reservoirs or energy points in Chinese medicine. And the question comes up, do I need to know that? How important is it for me to know traditional Chinese medicine in order to be a safe and effective teacher, or in order to get the most I can get just out of my own Tai Chi practice? And we are all aware of the newer programs have a little bit of acupressure massage or other little tidbits of knowledge about Chinese medicine built into them, which is interesting and keeps us engaged. But how much does a Tai Chi instructor at TCHI or Tai Chi practitioner really need to know about it?
Thank you, Pat. Let me start with myself first, how I get involved with Chinese traditional medicine, and then I'll talk a little bit about Chinese traditional medicine and the relationship between us as the Tai Chi for Health instructors. And I definitely invite questions, because being here, being a Western and also Chinese traditional medical practitioner, I'm in the picture and I take so many things for granted. That's what I do. So when I qualified, got my medical degree in 1974, 50 years, isn't it? And you know, those days, if some of you might be coming to my age, would remember in those days, Western doctors are a little arrogant and we think we know everything, or some of us anyway. So I kind of belong to that little bit of that way, thinking that I know a lot about medicine, and Chinese medicine is just hoodoo's medicine. So I grew up with Chinese traditional medicine. I see the bad parts of it too. So I didn't have much feeling for it, and I even start kind of criticize it, and then I realized you really can't criticize something unless you know about it, or at least know to a certain extent. So that's when I went back to Hong Kong and learned acupuncture treatment and learn about Chinese traditional medicine. Since then, gradually Australia, especially Sydney, more open up to the bigger world. And we even have a college or the birth of association. And the first lot of fellowship in the British system, a fellowship is like a specialist training. So there's actually a specialist training by a group of Western doctors who specialize in acupuncture. And we got together, we worked together, and eventually we set up a curriculum to have the first lot of fellowship. And I was one of the 50 people who become the first fellows in acupuncture in our country. So I practice acupuncture, so that based on Chinese traditional medicine. And it helps being Chinese, knowing the Chinese culture, the language, and all that. So it's easier for me to get that. And it became an incredible blessing. At first, a lot of my fellow Western doctors see me as a sort of weird guy. And then when I start teaching Tai Chi, they think I'm even more weird. This guy who does Tai Chi, do acupuncture. But you know what? Doctors change one fact in front of them. And now in Australia, they call me the Tai Chi doctor. And also, when I was practicing, because I spent half a year traveling around the world to train people and to make great friends like most of you, it was a great time, but my practice is, you know, you can't be a family physician when someone sees you and next day you're gone for 3 months. And so my acupuncture practice grown because with acupuncture, we don't deal with acute cases so much. So people will wait a couple of months until I come back. So my practice I still have my family practice, but my acupuncture practice kind of flourished. And then gradually I see the connection between that and Tai Chi. Because I practice Western medicine, in a way, does knowing Western medicine help you as a better Tai Chi for health instructor? Yes, it does. How much? That's another thing. Okay, let's go to our topic of traditional Chinese medicine. Does that knowledge help you? Yes, of course it does. I use my understanding of the yin-yang balance, 5 elements, the acupuncture treatments. How much? Well, that is big question mark. If you know something superficially or bits of facts, it may be helpful, but it may be a hindrance. Because, you know, half knowledge can be more hazardous. So then, if everybody become a Western doctor and become a trained traditional Chinese medicine, absolutely, I think it would help your Tai Chi teaching. But that is a lot of training. That's a lot of work. And even if you were a traditional Chinese practitioners, because the Chinese TCM is more an art than a evidence-based facts. So with Western medicine, I can say there's this study which had the world's biggest study on falls prevention, and people do, 85% of them do Tai Chi for arthritis, and they have 65% less rate of falling. No one can argue on that. So there was the world's biggest study, and it's consistently show. So then we can say, oh, this is the way to do things. These drugs work this way because those studies shows. But they are doing that to Chinese medicine. I know there's some, like Harvard, doing some studies on that. But before that, and also studies, it's a really complicated thing. So my short run is that, yes, it helps. It's an incredible art. It is more an art than almost like a philosophy than the Western medicine. But it does help because I practice both. So I can find people a balance. I heard, for example, my acupuncture teacher, who's very learned, and people present with chest pain, and he start giving them acupuncture treatment. So I share my knowledge with him that different kinds of chest pain, that type of chest pain may be a high-tech, no acupuncture emergency, you know. So even an acupuncture specialist do not necessarily know the safest way. So if people are like me, a Western, Eastern doctor, I think you have a better chance of being safe as well as practicing Tai Chi for health, Tai Chi. And what I'd like you to know is that not only I incorporate my knowledge into constructing the Tai Chi for health programs, I also work with Eastern, Western doctors of different areas to make our program effective and safe. And therefore, for example, Tai Chi for diabetes, I look into the meridian that's effective for diabetes, and I incorporated it into part of our movement. So whether you know Chinese traditional medicine or not, if you follow the program, you will deliver that benefit because it's already created with that knowledge incorporated. However, I do become even more obvious in the Tai Chi for heart conditions. I have 2 heart meridians that we massage. Tai Chi for memory, I have the Feng Qi acupuncture points that we treat as well. So that's a further stage. But then, on the other hand, it takes me a while and a lot of working to find the best, safest point and best and safe ways to help through the Chinese traditional medicine. So what I'm saying is, if you want to learn more Chinese traditional medicine, it's a good thing, but do it properly, spend a bit of time, and before you really know it well, try not to use it to influence yourself the wrong way. Does it make sense? And on the other hand, like people like Hong, who actually, I'm assuming everybody knows Hong is one of our master trainer who's amazing, has amazing deep Chinese culture, and she's enrolled in a Chinese university to learn traditional Chinese medicine. Now that is the kind of things that would really help. But most of us would not really want to do that. It's a lot of work, and in terms of how much time you spend to how much you're going to gain from being a more effective Tai Chi for health instructor, I think it's not worth the time. You don't get the bang for your bucks, nowhere near. Does it make sense? It's good to be curious and good to learn, because it's a fascinating art. Chinese traditional medicine has filled a lot of gaps that Western medicine don't, and that's why when I do half a year Western medicine, I still got a medical practice there. Well, I didn't quite do only acupuncture. I still do both, but it's allowed me to make sort of reasonable practice, even though I give it half the year. When you do want to spend time on learning Chinese traditional medicine, please keep in mind that it's a huge area. It's very artistic, it's wonderful, and try not to be too dogmatic, to say that got to be this way, it's got to be my way. In fact, in life, there isn't really absolutely one way. A lot of principles are certainly true, but when people think there's only one way in life, they can get into serious trouble. And if you don't have enough knowledge and you get too narrow in your approach, it's then become a hindrance. So that's my advice and that's my experience. One of the stories I want to tell you is I have a few of my patients who come to see me for acupuncture only. And I tell my patients that when you have a medical condition, usually with acupuncture Chinese theory, it's one of the meridians being affected. Either it's moving too fast, too slow, or there's moisture, conceptually moisture in it, or it's too dry, and so on. So acupuncture correct the flow and make your qi flow normal. That's how it works. But acupuncture is temporary. I correct it like taking a drug. You take it and it might cure it, or it might just suppress it for a time. If you do Tai Chi and improve your qi, and your qi flows beautifully and healthily, then it's yours to keep. So that's what I told my patients. And one of the patients who went to my Tai Chi school, after a few years, Joe told me, Dr. Lam, you refer me to do Tai Chi, and I don't get sick anymore, so you got no more business from me. I'm very happy to hear that, but that's true. Okay, so that's my take. I'm happy to go a little bit more technical, or I think it's more fun to have questions or your views so we can share.
If you have questions or comments, put them into the chat box and we will get that to Dr. Lam. We do have one comment that I think most of you probably read here, and I think it's very interesting. It's someone said, made the observation, it's a little like CPR. You can do it without being a cardiologist, but yeah, but you are not professional. You're not a professional cardiologist. You just follow the instructions. Don't try to be what you are not. I think that was a word, very wise words. No, several are in agreement to that. We have other questions that are starting to pop up now. Do you want me to tell you what they are, Dr. Lam? You want me to?
I want to say something. Let's
Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to chime in a little bit because you said it, Dr. Lam, you said it's really a lot of work. It takes a long time, but I just wanted to say a little bit about what I learned from my acupuncturist here. She said, you know, I've been doing this 40 years and I'm still learning all the time. And I go back to China for a couple of weeks, for like a month every summer, because she said in China, when she works at the clinic, she said she could set up 8 people at a time with their treatments, and then they finish and 8 more come in. She said it's such valuable experience, and nothing can be traded for that practice and that experience, because it's partially an art too. It's a science, but an art. And isn't Tai Chi a little bit like that? It's we get better the more and more we practice. We all say we're never really done. You know, you just get better with more and more years of Tai Chi. So I just wanted to bring that up a little bit, because I know the first time that I saw one of those dolls with all the meridians drawn on it, to me, it was like a road map, and like these were roads in space, but it's not quite so, as you said, it's not so inflexible. It's not, it's an art as well, and there's nothing that can replace that experience. And there's a real risk if we think we know more than we know. Thank you.
Those are wise words, Pat. Thank you. We have
Audrey, you have hands up.
Go ahead. And we have a hand up with Audrey.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Audrey. I started out teaching Qigong, and then I learned Tai Chi afterwards. And now, if you're teaching Qigong, it is important to know where the meridians are and where the organs, the Chinese medical system has a different idea of organs and their organ systems, and they're each paired with a yin organ and a yang organ. So, and there's different meridians that influence those different organs in those organ systems. So if you're teaching Qigong, it's important to know that. But when you're teaching Tai Chi, it's not so important. You know, it's more important if you're doing acupuncture or if you're doing Qigong. And it is a lot to learn, very much a lot to learn. Some people might be interested in it, some of your students, but I find that my Qigong students are very interested in the organs and the meridian systems, but my Tai Chi students aren't all that interested. So that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Audrey.
We have a mention here from Anne, Dr. Lam, directly to you. She is saying that each of those forms you mentioned, memory, diabetes, heart conditions, could you talk about Tai Chi for memory influence that contributed to that form? What did you specifically show in the Tai Chi? Yeah, Anne, go ahead, Anne, and you can direct him yourself.
Ernie, the TCM traditional Chinese medicine influence.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
What I mean.
Oh, then I'm little unsure about the question. And can you just repeat the question?
Sure. For each of those forms that you mentioned, um, can you talk a little bit about the traditional Chinese medicine influence they chose to incorporate in those forms, and why? Does that make sense?
Yes. If you mean forms, you mean different programs. The overwhelming rationale behind overall program is that by improve the balance of yin and yang, by improving your qi flow and make your qi stronger and more normal, that itself would improve all aspects of the body. Like, just like, for example, sort of a rough comparison is when people are more fit, cardiovascularly more fit, then their heart pumps better, their lung gets more oxygen, and that generally helps their health in most instances. So in terms of each program, for example, Tai Chi for energy program is incorporate some more strenuous, faster movements. That's our concern, apart from improving the qi flow and the overall health. Then our consideration also go into the group of people who are likely to do that and how they will like it and how would they work. So the most of the concept for all the 12 programs is more involved in the whole body health. And then in particular, for example, for arthritis, we're more involved in having gentle healing energy, relax the mind so that the arthritis gets better. But that also applies to health in general. But with arthritis, it's more healing, more safe, and more qi generating, and also the force prevention aspect, the balance, and balance got to do yin and yang. That's the general concept that we have when we create each program in terms of traditional Chinese medicine. Have I answered your question good enough?
For instance, in the heart, there's certain acupuncture, there's certain massages that are done, and in the memory, I'm just curious as to how you chose those particular movements.
Oh, well, that's easy. With the heart, we choose it, first of all, the acupuncture point that is generally help the heart without side effects, without overstimulating. And secondly, we want it to be in a safe area where people can access easily. And also, it's very unlikely for them to overdoing it. So those are the two very important meridians that's in the wrist, quite people very sensitive to, very easy to locate, and but the gentle massage essentially have no potential side effects. With memory, I'm really proud of this. My key acupuncture teacher loved Feng Qi, this acupuncture points, and he used to say it's the Taoist monks use it as part of their exercise to clear their mind, improve their qi in the morning, those 2 points. And certainly, we also talk about, we teach in Hong Kong. I learned acupuncture from Hong Kong. My teacher was in Hong Kong. They really put a lot of emphasis too much emphasis on studying, and kids had to work really hard to get somewhere. And the final exam for the high school is so vitally important that every year there's always a group of young people commit suicide because they didn't do as good as expected. And one of our distant relatives I know when I was in Hong Kong, a beautiful girl who's really bright, and she's just not happy with the results. Her parents are not happy with it, and she ended her own life. That is so sad. But in Hong Kong, just to see how much emphasis everybody plays on. So my teacher used to teach high school kids to massage this to help their memory, to help them study better. And so I can't go past that. It's a very safe movement. It also helps people to relax. So I look into all different points, and those are how I chose these points. Lorraine, do you?
Thank you. That's good.
Dr. Lam, I can't help but noticing that in Tai Chi for memory and Tai Chi for heart conditions, both forms have
Sorry,
shuttles.
just give me a minute.
Well,
Lorraine,
well,
would you like to
Dr.
go
Lam,
ahead with your thoughts? I think Pat could address some of those as
Okay.
well.
Okay,
Go ahead, Lorraine.
I can't help but noticing that both memory and heart conditions, they have shuttles, lady working shuttles. But one is the Sun style with follow step, and one's a Yang style without follow step. I just wonder whether what's the rationale for the difference in the Yang style without follow
Yes.
step, the lunge
So
like a lunge, and the Sun
Yeah.
style is the agile follow step. So I'm just following on, no talking, just interested.
Yes, I think that's a great thing to ask when Dr. Lam comes back. But I just wanted to share something my acupuncturist told me. When I first met her, I had a really serious herniated disc and my arm was paralyzed. And one of my students said, the first doctor said he needed to put a plate in my neck. And my Tai Chi student said, oh, don't put metal on your spine. It will block your chi. So I was waiting to see another surgeon, and then I found the acupuncturist, and I said, I can't have that metal in my neck because it will stop my chi. And she started laughing. She said, who told you that? That was some American person. It's not going to stop your chi. Your chi is like water, and it will just flow around the metal. And she kept laughing and repeating that, saying, oh, that's so funny. If your chi stopped, you'd be dead. Oh, that's hysterical. Well, of course, I didn't think it was so funny, but eventually I didn't need to have the surgery and I didn't have the plate, but that's just a little example of how sometimes we can misunderstand. So Dr. Lam, Lorraine had a really good question about the use of Fair Lady Weaves the Shuttles, and that in diabetes, it's with Sun style and the follow step, and in heart conditions, it's Yang style with the Yang style slower transfer. And she was wondering what the rationale was.
Yes, it's memory and heart conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yes,
memory
yeah,
and heart
yeah.
conditions.
Well, the decision of Fair Lady working the shuttle, apart from the overview that we want to make sure TCM has a maximum effect on each movement, on the condition. With diabetes and heart condition, we use Yang and Sun style. Our decision wasn't quite directly related to TCM. TCM, we use the concept, as I say, for improve your chi generally, especially the chi related to the condition. So with the shuttle, actually, either movements have similar effect to the meridians. So the reason why we use the Yang style for the heart condition, because with the heart condition, it's people kind of need a little bit more cardiovascular fitness. With the diabetes, there's a thing called peripheral neuritis, where they develop damage to the nerve of the feet and hands. So we want them to move more. So follow step, give them another step to move, and that moving more, apart from moving the meridian, it's also the exercise minimize the side effect of peripheral neuritis. Whereas with the heart, we want them to stay there and just a little bit more exertion to give more fitness. So that is quite minor differences. They're not really huge difference, not really too significant, but just to show you, we go into minor details and make sure everything kind of try to fit more than perfect. That's why it takes so long to put the right movements in each program.
And Nora, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. I definitely find this topic extremely interesting, and I really appreciated what Dr. Lam said in the very beginning. You know, for one thing, you can't criticize unless you really know something thoroughly. I love that, and I'm going to be thinking of it and sharing that particular phrase. But in my situation, and I have accumulated, which I'm so grateful for, and for all the master trainers that I've been associated with, a variety of different forms. So when I introduce them to the Tai Chi practitioners, they will say, "Oh, so why?" I go, "Well, you know, good question. Not sure. I'm sure it's because our Chi is flowing." But the more I was listening to Pat and Dr. Lam and the other few folks that spoke, and I want to zone in on memory. And I do remember this has been brought up in several other occasions. Doing Tai Chi is to give you relaxation and joy. So if we're dealing with somebody that has a memory issue and we can work with them so they can understand the form and move with ease, that right there to me is causing an improvement in their memory because they feel good. And if you feel good about yourself, and this has been said so many times before, you feel good about yourself, your health starts improving. So I think with the repetition, with memory, the open and close 3 times, Fear Lady working the weaving the shuttle or working the shuttle with the follow through step. And I'm thinking people with memory need that little extra protection of their balance. And then the yang waving hands, I mean, that in itself is so relaxing. So in my mind, instead of talking about the meridians, I think I'm going to just focus on just do the movements the best you can for relaxation. Would that be a wise thing to do?
Lenora, I like that very much. You obviously look into the effort that we go into creating that program, and I guess to people who find that acceptable, I like that approach. That is, if you spend more time on doing the program, you get more bang for your buck. But you know, if you're interested in TCM and interested in orthodox medicine, of course, it's fascinating. It's fun. It's good to know. I must say, when I was a med student, I never really want to be a doctor. I don't know how I became one. So I always want to be a teacher. So I finally got my wish. All I do is teach now. But going through medicine, and I always have this question, why do I have to know so many things? The little nerve, the veins, the lymphatics, everything about the body. Why do I have to know all those stuff? And I got bored with it until I start doing biochemistry and physiology, when I really understand how the body works and how beautifully it was designed and it functioned. It's fascinating, and that got me to be really interested in medicine. Likewise, I have the same approach for Tai Chi. I want to know how things work, why you do this movement, what that movement has to do, and how you do certain things. I always want to know the gist behind it. And then I work with a group of really interesting, knowledgeable people to create programs so that you don't have to go into all that much work. But nonetheless, if you spend time to learn more, it's bound to be good for you, as long as you try not to be too dogmatic without really knowing what you're talking about.
Marian in the chat put in a comment, a question really, asking, does your chi flow where it's needed when you play Tai Chi? How does your intention help bring healing to where you need it? It seems
Great
like
question. Yes, that's a great question. And yes and no. For example, Tai Chi for arthritis. And if you do, as you know, I have arthritis for how long now? 50, 60, 63 years. And I still got arthritis, especially when I work too hard or have a lot of stress, my arthritis play up. So when it's worse, I try to feel the mind sense the chi. And just thinking about it is all you need to do. If you try too hard, it doesn't work, the chi don't flow, and your Tai Chi don't work so well. So still go back to my Tai Chi principle that I talk about all the time. Song your joints, jing your mind, and then just put a little bit more mindful when my fingers are hurting. Just a bit more awareness of those hands. That works for me. The stronger chi will go to the whole body, help the whole body. But if you have a special thing, like sometimes my knee were playing up, then I just a little bit more mindful of that knee. That also allow me to don't bend it too low, that mindfulness. But the mindfulness bring a little bit more chi there, and it has worked for my healing. This topic is very much to my heart. When I started teaching Tai Chi, and people think because I'm a Western doctor, then they gave me a lot more credit. And I used to feel I don't deserve it, it's unfair to another Tai Chi teacher. And it took me a while to realize it's not unfair. That does help, which sort of connect to this topic. It does help, but then it takes a long time to be trained as a doctor, and it takes a long time to get your experience, to practice, and then you can get a more reasonable opinion to how things are done. Even that, I read studies that help me to interpret the study better, to see which movement, which way of Tai Chi has helped our health better. So it does help, but it's not something that you need to go through. In fact, some of the things I went through in my medical training, I continue in Australia. We continue to have regular training. I think every 5 or 3 years, we have an inspection of our practice by our peers, and we have to pass those inspections, make sure our equipment is sterile, our practice is sound, and so on. So we continue to have accreditation points to update my license. So when I gave my license away 11 years ago, I asked our medical board, the person who on the phone, and I said, look, I don't know. I mean, I'm still feeling well and strong, and I want to give up my medical practice to do more Tai Chi. But what if I run out of money, I go bankrupt, and I want to come back to a doctor? And the lady was really nice. She said, Dr. Lam, for you to continue your license, the work you have to do now, Then when you stop your license and come back 5 years later, it's not that much more work to get the license. So in other words, they work us very hard to keep the license. So I think we're great doctors, but I'm biased, of course. I'm an Australian doctor. Fortunately, I never have to go back. So, it's really wonderful not to be a doctor because I'm no longer in charge of people's life. I think my problem is I think too much, I care too much, and I'll go home with a person's problem, and then I'll ring them after hours, how are you doing? And people say, oh, I'm okay, why do you bother, And so when I teach Tai Chi, I might teach you not the best way, but it's not going to harm you. I'm very safe. And then I improve my Tai Chi as I teach. So since I've been giving up my medical license, I felt great in that way. But it is inconvenient when you have to see a doctor for a prescription where I used to be just write one for myself. I can't do that anymore. I had to go see another doctor But nothing is 100%. There's always positive and negative in life. Generally speaking, I'm really happy doing what I always want to be, a teacher. And the huge benefit, incredible benefit of having so many friends like you guys, that it's just wonderful. I feel so privileged to have that opportunity.
Well, Dr. Lam, I think I can speak for everyone that we were very fortunate that we have you as both a medical doctor, always a medical doctor in your experience, and also the combination with your tremendous knowledge of Tai Chi, and then putting it all together. How fortunate for us to have that all in one person. We all, I'm saying for everyone, thank you so much. Okay,
And
Lorraine.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
I just wanted to say that there's been a question in chat about resources to learn more about the meridians. And I just wanted to say that that's really dangerous water because it's very hard. There's so much involved. I have found it hard to understand as a layperson. And someone recommended this book that is written for people who aren't meant to be and aren't trying to be experts, but it's called Wood Becomes Water. And it's traditional Chinese medicine in everyday life. And over again, the author says, this is not meant to make you a practitioner, but it's just a very basic knowledge and an easy read for those who maybe don't have a background. It's a lot to try to learn it all. And Lorraine, your hand's up.
I just want to follow on a reflection sort of on Dr. Lam's talking about his live in medical practice and teaching Tai Chi. As a doctor, you see people who are sick. You see people come to ask for help when they're already sick. As a Tai Chi teacher, you most probably see more of people who are reasonably well or who have been able to manage their health conditions to be reasonably well, and they are also a population that proactively working on being well. And I always say I like to be an exercise leader and Tai Chi instructor because I choose to work with people who are proactively working at being well. So I end up working with maybe 10% of the population, because statistically says only 10% of the population choose exercise or engage in regular exercises. And some people could be just sick, very sick, they're just unfortunate. Some people could be just fairly inert and not proactively in working at their good health. So that's why they are constantly not being well. So I just thought you just trigger me, the way you talk just trigger me to think about, always tell people I choose to work with people who are proactively working on their health and wellness. because of what I do. People who don't like exercise don't stay in my class. So they
Lorraine,
come and they don't stay.
that's amazing. You know, as you bring this up, then I realized there's another reason why I'm so much happier teaching, because when I was doctoring, just about everybody come to see me with a complaint. They always complain and always say something wrong. And now, everybody I work with are positive, do things for themselves, and different group of people, all my friends, all you guys are proactively caring for your health, like the movement. And of course, you know, we get contaminated by the people we associate with. You know, I think a lot of my colleagues, there's a survey for family physicians in Australia, and I think at one stage, 80% of doctors says, family physicians, they will change their job if they can. So that is part of it. But I would say it differently. As a Tai Chi teacher, most of us stay working, because teaching is such a delight, and working with positive people just make us feel more positive too. Yes. Thanks, Lorraine. That's a good point. And that really makes sense to me. And so if no one wants to say something, I think what it does also shows with Tai Chi, you know, in the old traditional Chinese world of martial arts and Tai Chi, they advocate and talk about people who would go to a cave or a quiet place and just practice, and then they become incredibly magical. And that actually doesn't work. Tai Chi works because we work with people, we get people's energy, we share, we learn from other people. It's human nature to be communicating and be working with people. And you know, I just look at you, Bill, and Ernie, Pat, everybody, Lorraine. When I work with you, I learn something from you. And we all improve, we all raise ourselves by working together. And that is so important in Tai Chi. And even like here, you know, I'm being challenged for my partner's sickness, but when I talk to you, I can raise myself and feel much happier having chance to talk to you. Yeah. So yes, Lorraine, working with positive people, working with people who cares, it's just essential for us, for me anyway. Yeah.
That was a wonderful summary, Dr. Lam. I have noticed myself, I have learned more from my participants over the years. That's just been added to all that I've learned from you and from the master trainers and others in practicing Tai Chi. I've learned from the participants who, you know, are learning the forms from me. So it's a back and forth. It's a communication. It's just wonderful, and it ends up being joyful. I've noticed that joy in my classes, and that makes it definitely worthwhile for me to continue doing this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Joyful, I like that. Yes, it does. Acquires of the joyfulness with working with people. Yes.
Yes.
And I think it touches back on one of the thoughts we started with, that even if you don't, for example, even if I don't know how a wall plug works, that I can plug in an electrical appliance and it works, I don't have to know how it works. I just have to know where the plug is and plug it in. So if we don't have to understand everything about how it's moving, how the movements are moving the chi, we just have to have a pretty good basic alignment and good posture, follow the principles. And sometimes I say it in class so that the plugs work right, so that the plugs connect. and I just accept that it's going to work. So
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, we all growing older, and the computer world can be very threatening. So I used to want to know everything, but not anymore. All I have to do is ask Evan, and I always get answers.
Annette, you have your hand up. Did you want to ask a question of Dr. Lam? Annette?
I'm trying to unmute it. I just wanted to say just about the knowledge, because I too would like to, it's like, why do we punch above our knee or tap above for cool downs? Is that an acupuncture meridian and people have asked me that, and I said, well, I think it's the lactic acid, but we're really not building up lactic acid in our doing Tai Chi per se. And on a second note, when I did Tai Chi took class and taught one, kind of like 3 back to back, and I had some issues with my neck, and I had gone to an acupuncturist who studied in China. And when I went there, I was feeling pretty good. But if you don't have any knowledge of chi flow or anything, when I walked in, and I had gone there a couple times before, when I walked into the office, her dog was there, and he's always very friendly, but he would not leave my side. He kept putting his, rubbing up against my leg and wanted me to pet and play with him. And when she walked out of one of her clients' rooms to come out to the lobby, she said, "Oh my gosh, you're buzzing with energy." And I'm like, well, that's all the proof I need to know that Tai Chi and the energy flow is working, in my body. I mean, and I feel it. But yes, so hopefully the students and everyone feel that as well. So
Nice.
it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that's so much of the value of the programs Dr. Lam has implemented at the Institute, is that it incorporates that knowledge of the traditional Tai Chi medicine together with rheumatology, physical therapy, good body alignment, the Western medicine piece. So we really can't lose as long as we're sticking to the program.
Best wishes for everybody. Look forward to see you for the next forum.